This video was initially uploaded a couple of weeks ago. I had to take it down due to copyright issues with the background music. I removed the sound off of the original video and redubbed it. This is the first of 3 that were taken down. I'll have the other 2 uploaded soon. This is my Carrie Mango. This tree, along with these other 2 mangoes, were planted here just a few months ago in early February. Shortly after planting, the tree began to push out some panicles. The tree put out a good amount of panicles and was doing really well. By mid-March, the panicles had grown considerably. The flower buds began to bloom in early April, but by early May, a black mold had spread to all the panicles. As shown here, some of the flower buds began to fall off. I'd like to mention that these trees were sprayed with a foliar feed a few days before the black mold started to form. In the past, I would usually foliar feed my trees during the growing season. I'm not exactly sure if the foliar feed was a cause of the black mold. The timing could be purely coincidental, but I have since stopped the foliar feed applications. From research I've done, there are certain varieties of mangoes that are highly susceptible to sooty mold, which appears in the form of a black powdery mold. This condition is usually caused by insects and not foliar spraying. However, I can't help but wonder if the foliar spraying contributed to the problem. So I've decided to stop the foliar feeding and see if it makes a difference. By early June, most of the flower buds had fallen off due to the black mold, but a few mangoes had started to develop. The tree had also started to push out some new growth. By late July, the tree had developed new, healthy-looking leaves. Only a few mangoes were left on the tree. They had put on a little growth and were slightly larger than a pea. By late August, a few of the mangoes had grown to be slightly larger than a radish. These here on the bottom look like they might stay on and reach full maturity. As I previously mentioned, this tree has only been in the ground a few months, and it is a fairly young tree, estimated to be a little over 3 years old. I don't want to put too much stress on the tree, so I'll probably just leave at least 2 of these on the bottom. I don't want to knock them all off, which would probably be the best thing to do so this tree can focus on root development. but I don't think allowing just two of these to mature will make too much of a difference. I've never tasted this variety from some of the YouTube videos I've seen. These are supposed to be fiberless flesh with a really good flavor. Hopefully I'll be able to get a couple of these to mature and I'll be able to sample them. Up next are my grapevines. This first one here is my Triumph Muscadine grapevine. It's been growing in this container for just over 3 years. It started to develop buds in late April. By early June, the vine started to flower. The vine had formed a good amount of buds. There were a total of at least 35 clusters or so forming throughout the vine. By late July, the grapes had started to form and were slightly larger than the size of a pea. I noticed that the clusters had been thinned out. I'm not sure if they fell off on their own or a squirrel got to them. I've been having trouble keeping the squirrel off my avocado, and I think he may have gotten to these as well. There are still plenty of clusters on the vines, but the clusters are definitely much smaller than last year's crop. Here's what it looks like now. Some of the grapes are close to full size. They're still not ripe. These will turn a bronze color when they are fully ripe. I'm guessing these won't be ready for harvest until sometime around late September or early October. This next one is my Terra Scruppernong. The vine started to put out flower buds in late April. It put out a good amount of clusters, but not as many as the Triumph. Here's what the vine looked like in late July. As you can see, it also has small clusters. It's about the same age as the Triumph vine, and it's also been growing in the container for a little over 3 years. And here's what they look like now. They are also close to being full size, and it should be ready for harvest in about the same time the Triumphs are. Hopefully between the Triumph and this one I'll get a good harvest. I'm not expecting too much from the last vine I'm about to show you, but these two should do okay and produce a decent harvest. These vines are still relatively young. Some grape varieties take up to 3 to 5 years before they start producing good-sized crops. These are just within that range, but the fact that they're growing in containers, I'm sure will prolong their fruit production. Still, as I had a viewer comment, any harvest is a good harvest. This last grapevine is my Summit Muscadine. This vine is about the same age as the other two vines and has also been planted in the container for the same amount of time. It didn't produce as many grape clusters as the others. Only a few managed to set fruit, and they were mostly on this side of the vine. Only one small cluster formed on this other side. I believe that is due to the fact that this corner gets the least amount of sun. The fence and these trees block out most of the sun for this area, so I believe that is the reason for the poor production. I eventually plan to re-landscape my front yard and get rid of at least one of the trees. That should help a little, but I won't be starting that project anytime soon. So for now, I'm not expecting too much in the form of fruit production off this vine. Well, that will be it for now. If you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button. I'll be posting videos on a regular basis so you can follow along as my backyard orchard matures. As always, stay safe, grow your own, and thank you for watching.